All right. We're going to work on ourselves a little bit, all right? This is how to tell if you are self sabotaging or in a self sabotage cycle from The Mountain Is You. Fantastic book. I just got it. I've been so excited to get it. But, anyways, let's get in there. Even if you can cognitively understand self sabotaging behaviors, sometimes the most difficult shift is recognizing that we are engaging in them. In fact, sometimes the signs are so subtle that they are barely recognizable and often don't come to our attention until they become highly problematic or someone else points them out. Some of the most prominent symptoms of self-sabotage are as follows. Number 1, you are more aware of what you don't want than what you do. You spend more of your time worrying, ruminating, and focusing on what you hope doesn't happen than you do imagining, strategizing, and planning for what you do. You spend more time trying to impress people who don't like you than you spend with people who love you for who you are. You're more focused on growing into the kind of person who evokes the envy of your supposed enemies rather than the kind of person who is beloved by their family and friends and prioritizes them no matter what. You're putting your head in the sand. You don't know basic facts about your life, like how much debt you have or what other people in your field are being paid for similar work. When you get into an argument, you run away until you forget rather than talking about what's wrong and coming up with a solution. In other words, you're in denial, and so any hope of healing is futile. You care more about convincing other people that you're okay than actually being okay. You'd rather post photos that make it look like you had a great time than being concerned about whether you actually had a good time. You put more effort towards trying to convince everyone that you're doing well, rather than being honest and connecting with people who could help you and support you. Your main priority in life is to be liked, even if that comes at the expense of being happy. You think more about whether or not your actions will earn the approval of people, who are people, by the way, rather than whether or not they will actually make you feel fulfilled and content with who you are. You're more afraid of your feelings than anything else. If you get to the point in life at which the scariest, most detrimental thing you face is the fear of whether or not you'll be able to handle your own emotions, you are the one standing in your own way, nothing else is. You're blindly chasing goals without asking yourself why you want those things. If you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and yet you feel empty and depressed at the end of the day, the issue is probably that you're not really doing what you want to be doing. You've just adopted someone else's script for happiness. You're treating your coping mechanisms as the problem. Instead of trying to incite a war on yourself to overcome your overeating, spending, drinking, sexing, whatever it is, you know you need to improve. Ask yourself what emotional need that thing is filling. Until you do, you will battle it forever. You value your doubt more than your potential. Negativity bias makes us believe that bad things are more normal and more real than good. And unless we keep that inclination in check, it can keep us and leave us believing that everything we fear is to be true is more real than the good things that are actually true. You're trying to care about everything. Your willpower is a limited resource. You only have so much in a day. Rather than use it to try to become good at everything, decide what matters most to you. Focus your attention on that and let everything else slip away. You're waiting for someone else to open a door, offer approval, or hand you the life that you've been waiting for. We grow up with the illusion that success is what's handed to people who are most deserving, talented, or privileged. When we arrive, however, we realize it is constructed by those who find an intersection of their interests, passions, skills, and market gap. Sprinkle a little bit of personality and persistence, and the only way to fail is to give up. You don't realize how far you've come. You are not the person you were 5 years ago. You evolve as your image does, so make sure that it's an accurate one. Give yourself credit for everything you've overcome that you never thought you would, and everything you've built that you never thought you could. You've come so much farther than you realize, and you're so much closer than you realize. Part of the reason why we often experience intense inner conflict or self-sabotage is because of something called core commitments, which is essentially your primary objective or intention for your life. Your subconscious commitments are basically what you want more than anything else, and you often aren't even aware of them. You can identify your core commitments by looking at the things you struggle with most and the things you are most driven by. If you can peel back the layers of your motivations towards each, you'll find a root cause. When you find the same root cause for everything, you found a core commitment. People only seem... Lila, up on the bed. Come on. Come on. Get up here. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so back to where I was. When you find the same root cause for everything, you found a core commitment. People only seem irrational and unpredictable until you understand what they are fundamentally committed to. For example, if someone has a core commitment to feel free, they may find themselves sabotaging work opportunities in order to achieve that. If someone's core commitment is to feel wanted, they could find themselves in a series of relationships in which they have intense connections but refuse to make commitments out of fear that the spark will fade. If someone's core commitment is to be in control of their lives, they might have an irrational anxiety about the things that represent a loss of control. If someone's core commitment is to be loved by others, they might pretend to be helpless in certain areas of life because they don't need others. They might be left by them. The less that you feed your core need, the louder your core commitment symptoms will be. Confronting repressed emotions and taking action is the difference between understanding why and the act of no longer doing so. The most common emotions that arise while you're breaking the behaviors of self-sabotage is feeling... Sorry, y'all. I guess we're just going to have to do a part 2 whenever I can get time away from the puppy. I love you. You got this. Keep fucking going. I hope that helps.